Be'ez Hashem Yisbarach, we begin the 11th Perek of Masechta Kesubos. We begin towards the bottom of the Daf Tzadik Hey Amud Beis, the Mishnah. Zok the Heilige Mishnah, Almana Nizaynis Menichsi Yisaimim. An Almana is fed from the properties that the husband left that the Yisaimim now have. This is one of the conditions that are written into the Kesubah, or even without a Kesubah. It's a Maisa Bezdin that the Almana will get fed from the Nechasim after the husband passes away. So her income in exchange for this that she gets fed by them, shalahan, goes to the Yisaimim. Ve'ein chayavim b'kfurasa. However, they are not going to be obligated to cover her burial, even though she's the one that gives them her ma'asiyadeh, gives them her income, because the burial is not in exchange for her income. As we saw regarding a husband, the husband is obligated to bury his wife instead of the fact that after she passes away, he gets all her ksubah money. So therefore, Yersheha, Yershik Subasa, the ones that inherit her ksubah, Chayavim b'kfurasa. They are the ones that are going to be obligated in burying her. Zok the Gemara. Yibayiluhu, the question was asked, Ni Zaynis Tnan, the version of the Mishnah is the way we have it. It's written Almana Ni Zaynis, that Almana gets fed from the Yisaimim. Oi Hani Zaynis Tnan. Or you have to add a hey there. The right version of the Mishnah is an Almana which is getting fed. Meaning not always is she going to get fed by the Yisaimim, but now she's getting fed by the Yisaimim. So what's the difference? The Gemara explains this. Nizaynis Tnan, do we read in the Mishnah that an Almana gets fed by the Yisaimim, Uka'anshe Galal, and therefore this will be like the custom that the people of Galal had. As Rashi here brings, in Anshe Galal, it was written to the Kesubah, Ate Yasvef Beisi, that you, my wife, you'll sit in my home, and you'll get fed from my properties, all the lifetime, all the time that you're going to be living in my home. So according to this, Gemara here continues and says, so they cannot in any way decide not to give her the mezainis. It's something which they have no control over, the Yisaimim that is. She, as long as she's there and she's living in the house of the husband and she didn't go and get remarried, they're going to have to give her the mezainis. So therefore the Mishnah is saying, Almana Ni Zaynis, she gets fed by the Yisaimim and there's no choice in the matter. Or perhaps Hani Zaynis Nan. The Mishnah is saying that she is now getting fed by the Yisaimim. And therefore this goes according to the minig of the Kesubah that the Anshe Yehuda would write. And here Rashi brings, what did Anshe Yehuda write? That Ratzu Hayarshin Litn Lech Kesubasech. That it's in the hands of the Yarshim. They can decide any day that we want to pay you the Kesubah. And once she gets paid the Kesubah, she doesn't get mezainis anymore. So really it's in their hands. So therefore what the Mishnah is saying over here is, V'ibayu lo yavila. It's really in the control of the Yisaimim. If they want, they can decide to pay the Kesubah and not give her mezainis. So the Mishnah is saying, Almana hani zainis. When, and in that time, when she is getting fed, then her income goes to the Yisaimim. Tashema, so the Gemara brings that ayah because the Omer Rab Zera Mashmuel, Rab Zera said in the name of Shmuel regarding our Mishnah, Mitzia Salman Elatzma, that in this case, when the Alman is being fed by the Yisaimim, so anything she finds, she can keep for herself. Unlike the case of a wife and a husband, whatever she finds goes to her husband. Now, the question is, or the raya rather is, if you're going to say that the Mishnah, we read the Mishnah as Hani Zainis, an Almana that is being fed, but not always is she going to be fed by the Yisaimim, because it's in their hands to decide they can pay her off the Kesubah and not feed her. So Shapir, we can understand in what case Shmuel says that she keeps this Mitziyah. In a case where she's not getting any mezainis. So if she's not getting any mezainis, her income will not go to the Yisaimim anymore, and so too a mitzvah that she finds will not go to the Yisaimim. But if the Mishnah is read, Nizainis, that she's always getting fed from the Yisaimim, so Nehevi Kebal, why would she not, the relationship with these Yisaimim that are feeding her, why should it not be the same like it is with a husband? Ma Baal Mitzvah Sishala Baila. Just like in the case of a husband, besides her income, also a mitzvah goes to the husband. Hachanami mitzvah sishal yarshim. Over here as well, whatever she finds should go to the yarshim. So why did Shmuel say in our Mishnah that the mitzvah she can keep for herself? Answers the Gemara, it's no raya from here. I can really tell you, that we read the Mishnah, Nizainis, she's getting fed from the Yisaimim. But still she can keep the mitzvah. You can't compare the fact that her income is in exchange for the fact that she's getting fed by them to the mitzvah. Mitzvah is a different story. Why is it different? Why is it that Chachamim said that any mitzvah that a wife finds goes to the husband? In order that there should be no hatred between the husband and wife. I'm feeding you, I'm taking care of you, and you find something and you keep it for yourself. So therefore she has to give it to the husband. But Hani over here, even if there'll be hatred between husband and wife, or that's not husband and wife actually, it's the children. And the almana, it's not something that we're going to make a special takana for, that she should give the mitzvah to the Yisayimim. And besides that, Rashi adds, this is a t'nai in the Kesubos, that they must feed her. So whether she's going to give them the mitzvah or not, it's not going to change the fact that they have to feed her. In the case of the husband, though, if she's not going to give the mitzvah and there'll end up being a hatred between husband and wife, he may decide not to feed her. So therefore over here, the mitzvah is a different story. That's why Shmuel said that by an almana, she keeps the mitzvah for herself, even if she's getting fed from the Yisayim. Rabbi Yosef bar Chanina said, Kol malachas she'isha iseh lebayla. All of the work that a wife does for her husband, almana iseh liyarshim. The almana has to do for the yarshim that are feeding her. We had a list before in the Masechta, different works she has to do. She grinds the flour, she bakes, she cooks, everything she does in the home. Chutz, besides these specific things that she does, which are memzigas hakais, pouring a glass of wine, atzas amita, spreading the sheet on the bed, achatzas panav raglov, washing the hands, or the face, the hands and the feet, which is something which is only special between husband and wife, and this is something that an almana does not do for the yarshim or the yisayim that are feeding her. Amar Rabbi Shua ben Levi, a similar halacha, Rabbi Shua ben Levi said, all of the work that a servant does for his master, Talmud Aisel Rabbi. So too, a student will do to serve his teacher that's teaching him Torah. Chutz ma'ataras minal. Besides work like untying his shoes, or similar works like this, which people may make a mistake and think that he's actually not a Yid. He looks like an Eved Kanani. He looks like someone which is just a slave that's serving his master. So we don't want people to make a mistake about such a thing. But Rava says, Lo yamaron, this is only said that we're concerned that people might think there's an Evet Kanani if he's doing this type of work. Only if it's in a place that people don't know him, so people can make this mistake. If it's a place people know him, less lamba. Doesn't matter, he can do any work to serve his master or his teacher rather, and it makes no difference. Ravashi says, even in a place where people do not know him, it's also not said that there's a concern people might make a mistake if he serves his master like a slave serves, again, he serves his teacher like a slave serves the master, so that there's only a concern, only in a case where he's not putting on tefillin. But he puts on tefillin, less lamba. Then there's no concern. So it's interesting here, there's a difference between Rashi and Tosfos. Rashi says that this is if he doesn't put on tefillin at all. So then people might think that he's an Eved. Rashi says an Eved does not put on tefillin. But Tosfos says even an Eved puts on tefillin as well, but if he's not wearing tefillin all the time. So then people might think that he's an Eved which does not wear tefillin all the time. A person, a teacher that holds back a student from serving him. It's like he's holding back from him a kindness. There's a pasuk that says, Lamas mire'eyu, you're holding back from your friend, which over here, it's teaching friend being the student. Chesed, a kindness of allowing him to serve you. Rav Nachman Yitzchak says, Af peirik mimenu yiras shamayim. You're also causing him to remove yiras shamayim. Because that pasuk continues and says, V'yiras shindal yud yazif, that the fear of Hashem he will let go of if he's not going to be serving his teacher. Rabbi Loza said, coming back to the halacha of the mezainis, that there's a t'nai in the Kesubos that an almana gets after the husband passed away. Almana shetovsa metaltlen, an almana that went and grabbed metaltlen for herself, for the mezainis that she has to be fed. Masha tofsa, what she can grab and keep for herself. Tanya nami hachi, we learned in the Brais as well, almana shetofsa metaltalin, an almana that went and grabbed from metaltalin, for her mezainis, mashatofsa, what she grabbed, she keeps for herself. Now, chiddush here is that metaltalin is usually not something that you can get her mezainis from. Just like both Kesubos and mezainis, which an almana gets after her husband passes away, she only gets from karka, not from metaltalin. There was actually a discussion about this before in the Masechta, but I believe the maskan is you get only from karka. But over here, if she went and grabbed, then she can keep what she grabbed. This is also a sugya we had earlier in the Masechta regarding grabbing after the husband passes away. It spoke there actually also about a Bal Chayv that comes and grabs after the person passes away. There was Machlekes, Rab Kiva and Rab Tarfon, if you can keep what you grab. If you remember there was a discussion from where was this metaltalin grab. Was it grabbed from the home, the private place of the Yisayimim, or was it grabbed from out in the Rishus HaRabim? So Rabbi Kiva said you could only grab from the Rishus HaRabim. So over here some Rishonim say here as well that you could only grab from the Rishus HaRabim but not from the home. Rav Dimi came and he said as well, this halacha is this way. There was a story with the daughter-in-law of Rav Shapsi. She grabbed a sack, a leather sack full of money for the mezainis, and Chachamim could not take it out of her hands because this is the halacha. Once she grabs, she can keep it. However, Ravina says, this is only said if she's grabbing for the mezainis. But if she goes and grabs from a taltlin for her ksube, then we do take it back, we do take it out of her hands. But Ma Baravashi asks on this, why should there be any difference? What's the difference? By ksube, the halacha is that she's supposed to collect only from the properties, from karka, and not from movable, from valuables. Mezainis also, she should be collecting only from karka and not metaltli. So by both, the halacha should be the same, that once you grab, you should be able to keep it. But nevertheless, we say by mezainis, what she grabbed, now she can keep. The same halacha should apply for the ksubah, that what she grabs, she can keep. But Rav Yitzchak bar Naftali says to Ravina, that in the name of Rava we did say, like Ravina said, that there is a difference between grabbing for the mezainis and grabbing for the ksubah. When you grab for the mezainis from a taltlin, she could keep it, and for the ksubah, she cannot keep it. And Taisus here gives the svara for the difference, because when it comes to the ksubah, so there's a difference in the rights that a wife has to take for the ksubah. She could take not only from the properties that are right now in the possession of the Yershim, she could even take from Mishubadim, from any properties that were sold off. So therefore, she has nothing to worry about regarding collecting a ksubah. Even if there's nothing available here, she'll be able to take from any buyers that have properties. But when it comes to the mezainis, she could only take from the properties that are now in the hands of the Yusayimim. So she's concerned that she won't be able to collect. And therefore over here, Chachamim strengthened her power that if she grabs metaltalin, she can keep what she grabbed. Sagt the Gemara, Rabbi Yochanan Mishmei, Rabbi Yosi ben Zimra. Almane, sheshasa shtayim v'shaloshanim, and Almane, from when she became an Almane, so she waited 2-3 years, v'leitava mezainis. She didn't demand payment for the mezainis. She took care of herself. She didn't demand anything. So ibda mezainis. She loses those mezainis of those 2 or 3 years because she's meichelet, the fact that she didn't demand it. So the Gemara is trying to understand, why does it say 2 or 3 years? Hashte shtayim ibda, if he's saying that just a period of 2 years is long enough that we consider this to be a mechila, so shalish mibaya. Needless to say, after 3 years, such a long period of time, for sure she was meichel. Why does it mention 3 years? Answers the Gemara, like Kasha, this is not a question. It depends what kind of woman this is. Kan ba'aniyah and kan ba'ashira. Makes a difference if it's a poor woman or if it's a rich woman. If it's a poor woman, so then we say that after 2 years, it's already a raya that she gave it up. Because she's poor, she needed the money, and still she didn't demand it. So that's already a raya that she gave it up. But a rich woman, so she can wait longer. So the fact that she waited 2 years is not enough of a proof that she's being meichel. So only after 3 years do I say that she was meichelet. Or the Gemara gives another answer, inami, or we can say kan beprutza, kan betznua. Or there's a difference between a almana that's not embarrassed, prutza, she's able to come and demand for herself, and kan betznua, and here we're speaking about a almana that's embarrassed to come for herself. So if she's someone that's embarrassed, so then we say that after 2 years, that's not enough of a time for a mechila, because maybe she was simply embarrassed. So only after 3 years. But for a prutza, since we know she can speak up for herself, she has no problem. So after 2 years, that's enough of a raya that she gave up the mezainis. However, Rava says about this, loya maran, this is only said that she gives up, that she was meichel or mezainis, ela mafreya, for whatever passed. So that she didn't demand, so she gave it up. But for the future, yeshla, she still gets the mezainis. I don't consider this to be a mechila forever, that she can never collect any mezainis for the future as well. Rabbi Yochanan asked a shaila regarding a situation where there's an argument whether she got paid the mezainis or not. The Yisayimim say in Asananu, we gave the mezainis, the money for the mezainis. V'hiya medes, and she argues and says, Lo natalti, I never got money for the mezainis. Almi lahavi raya. Who's going to be the one that has to prove that they're right? So there's a machlekes here between Rashi and Tosfos. What this Gemara is speaking about? You look in the last Rashi on the Amud there. Rashi says we're speaking about the mezainis for the future, for the next year. Tosfos, most Rishonim disagree and say that for the future, for the next year, for sure that the Yisayim would have to bring a raya that they paid her that for the future. But over here we're speaking about the mezainis of the past, for the past year. That's the argument between them. So the question is, who has to bring a raya? What's the rule always when it comes to any argument with a money matter? If you're coming to take something out from your friend, so you have to prove. But the question is, essentially, who is the maitzi? Are the Yisayimim being maitzi from the Isha when they say that we already paid you, or is the Almana being maitzi from them? So the Gemara here explains, Nichsi, do I say Nichsi becheskas yasmi kaimi, that the money is in the possession of the Yisayimim, so therefore Valmana lahavirai, if the Almana wants to be maitzi payment for her mezainis from them, she's going to have to prove this. Or perhaps Nichsi becheskas almana kaimi. No, the Nechasim is actually considered to be in the possession of the Almana. And the reason for this is because there's a Maisa Bezdin. There's a condition here that she gets this mezainis, and therefore it's all really in her possession. So therefore the Yisayimim are going to have to bring a raya that they already gave her the money for this mezainis. Tashema, so the Gemara brings what it says in the Braisa clearly. The Tani Levi said as follows: Almana, when it comes to this question regarding an Almana, whether she got the mezainis or not, calls man shalei nisis, as long as she did not get remarried and she's still currently getting fed from the Yisayimim, ala Yisayimim la vidaya. The Yisayimim are going to have to bring a raya that they already gave her the money for the mezainis. So in other words, we consider at this time period the possessions of the Yisayimim, which is there for the mezainis, to be in her possession, and therefore they're going to have to bring a raya that they paid her already. Nisis aleh alav. But once she got remarried and now she's coming to collect from mezainis that she says in the past that she wasn't paid, so now at this point she's going to have to bring a raya for this that she did not get paid. Rav Shimi Barashi says kitanoi. This question seems to be also a machlekes tanoim, because there's a braisa that says meicheres v'kaiseves. So this almana can go ahead and sell properties that her husband left for her ksubah she's selling in order to collect her ksubah, or she's selling in order to collect money for her mezainis, and v'kaiseves, but she should write very clearly Eilu l'mezainis macharti, that these properties I sold in order to collect money from my mezainis, and ve'eilu l'ksubah macharti, and these properties I sold in order to collect the money for my ksubah. She has to spell out clearly what's for what. Divrei Rabbi Yehuda, this is what Rabbi Yehuda says. Rabbi Yosi argues and says, Mecheres v'kaiseves stam. She can just sell, and she writes, I'm selling it to collect money for what I'm owed, and she doesn't have to spell out whether it's for the mezainis or for the ksubah. And actually, v'chein koicha yafa. This will actually be to her benefit. It'll put her in a more powerful position if she's not going to spell out what exactly she's selling the fields, the properties for. So now what's the explanation of this machlekes here? My love, don't you think? The argument between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yosi isn't the point that we're speaking about over here. Who has the chazaka over the mezainis? Do the Yisayimim have the chazaka, and the almana will have to bring a raya that she did not get paid yet? Or does the almana have the chazaka, and the Yisayimim are going to have to bring a raya that they paid already? So the Gemara explains, Le Rabbi Yehuda dama baya lefrushi. Rabbi Yehuda that says that she has to spell out when she sells what she sells for the mezainis and what she sells for the ksubis. Savar. So Rabbi Yehuda holds the reason why she has to spell out that she's selling here for the mezainis, because he says nichsi becheskas yasmi kaimi. The properties that are here for the mezainis, the Yisayimim are the ones that have the chazaka in this. So she's going to have to prove that she didn't get yet paid the mezainis. And therefore, she's going to have to prove this. And therefore, what's going to happen? If she's not going to spell out what she's selling for the ksubah and what she's selling for the mezainis, so then what's going to happen if she's going to come and want to collect from the Yisayimim? So they're going to tell her, listen, whatever you sold, it was all being sold for the ksubah. So your Kesubah was paid off already, completely. You sold the properties and you collected enough money for your Kesubah. And then she's going to come and say, okay, so I got my Kesubah, but the Mezainis, you didn't give me Mezainis yet. They're going to say to her, the Mezainis, we gave you the Mezainis also. Now she's going to be stuck because we're following the opinion. We're explaining Rabbi Yehuda holds that the Mezainis, she's going to have to prove that she didn't get paid the Mezainis yet. So now she can get stuck over here. So therefore, she better write down, she better spell out exactly what it is that she sold for the Kesubah and what it is that she sold for the Mezainis. And therefore it'll be clear what she got and what she didn't get. That's Rabbi Yehuda's opinion. Rabbi Yosi Savar, however, Rabbi Yosi says, Lo boya lefrushi. She does not have to spell it out because nichsi becheskas almana kaimi, because the properties are actually, she has the chazaka over this. If later there's going to be an argument, if the Yisayim are going to come and say, like I just mentioned, that everything you sold was for the Kesubah, and the Mezainis was also all paid off, they're going to have to prove that. She's not going to have to prove anything. The Yisayim are going to have to prove that they gave her the Mezainis. So therefore, she doesn't have to spell it out clearly. She won't be in a position where she's going to have to prove anything. Vala Yisayim lo aviraya. On the contrary, the Yisayim are the ones that have to bring a raya. So Rashi actually points out that when Rabbi Yosi said before that it's actually puts her in a more powerful position not to write anything, reason is because when it comes to collecting the Kesubah, there's something different than collecting the Mezainis. As I mentioned before, when you collect Mezainis, you can't collect from Mishabadim. You could only collect from properties that are now in the hands of the Yarshim. When it comes to Kesubah, you could collect even from Mishabadim. So if she doesn't spell out what it is that she sold these properties for, so then later, if she's going to see that there's no properties in the Yarshim's possession for her to take, she'll say, oh, what I sold, that was for the Mezainis. And therefore now, she'll be able to go to the Lekuchais and get from there for her Kesubah. So it puts her in a better position to be able to see later if she has to go and collect from Lekuches for her Kesubah. So that's actually better for her. But the Gemara says, not necessarily is this the explanation of the Machlokes of Rabbi Yosi and Rabbi Yehuda. Mimai, how do you know this is explanation? Really everybody agrees that the properties are all in the hands of the Almana, and Val Yisayim Lav Yadaya, the Yisayim would have to prove that they gave her the Mezainis, so therefore it would not be necessary for her to write down specifically and spell out what it is that she sold for the Kesubah or for the Mezainis, like Rabbi Yosi said. But for Rabbi Yehuda, so why does Rabbi Yehuda say that she should write this down clearly, what it is that she sold for the Kesubah and the Mezainis? He's just giving good advice. In order that people shouldn't refer to her as someone that's so hungry and eating so much. They see her selling so much properties, she needs so much money. What does she need all this money for? All for her Mezainis. So people will say she's a Rav Sanusa. Therefore she should write, this is for the Mezainis and this is for the Kesubah. If you're not going to say the pshat over here in the Braisa this way, but you'll consider this Braisa to be a clear raya to the question Rabbi Yechanan asked. So if so, Chadabai Rabbi Yechanan. This question Rabbi Yechanan asked in this situation, who has to bring a raya, whether the Mezainis was paid up or not? Tifshitla mimasnisin. Similar to what we have here in the Braisa, we really have a Mishnah that says this. This is a Mishnah on the next plot here. The Mishnah there says, Meicheres l'Mezainis. The almana that wants to sell properties, she can go ahead and sell properties for herself to get fed. Shalei bebezdin, even without waiting for the bezdin to come and evaluate these properties. And also the kesubos, and she should be writing Eilu l'mezainis macharti. This is what I sold for the mezainis, so it should be clear exactly what it is that she got from mezainis. So over here, seemingly you see very clearly that the almana would have to bring a raya, like the Gemara wanted to prove before, according to Rabbi Yehuda's opinion. So if so, why would Rabbi Yechanan not bring a raya from this Mishnah? If the Braisa maybe Rabbi Yechanan didn't hear of, but the Mishnah for sure Rabbi Yechanan knew. So why didn't he bring a raya from here? So Ella, the answer is, like we said, we can't bring a raya from this Mishnah because we can say this that she writes that I'm selling this for the mezainis is just good advice, that people shouldn't think that she's a Rav Sanusa, that she's eating so much. So here the argument of Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Yehuda is also only Rabbi Yehuda is just simply saying, giving good advice that she should spell out what exactly it is that she's selling for her mezainis, so she shouldn't look like that she's eating so much. That's one pshat. Inami, or the Gemara says another pshat. The kul alme, everybody agrees. Nichsi becheskas yasmekaimi. That really the possessions that are here, that are available to collect the mezainis from it, they are still in the possessions of the Yisayimim, and therefore the almana will really be the one that will have to prove that she was not paid yet. Behind the time of the Rabbi Yosi, so when Rabbi Yosi says that she does not have to write what it is that she took for the mezainis, what's the reason for this? Kedabai Keshisha. And this is based on what Abai Keshisha says, which is really the same svara that the Gemara just brought. Well, let's see over here what Abai Keshisha says. He brings an interesting analogy for this. Alma Abai Keshisha. Abai Keshisha said, Mashal de Rabbi Yosi, Lama David. When Rabbi Yosi says, better her not to write what it is that she's selling these properties for, because this will make koicha yafa, this will put her in a stronger position. How it'll put her in a stronger position? So Abai Keshisha gives the following analogy. Ma Davidaima l'shchiv mera, person that's passing away, sha'amar, and he says, Tnu masayim zuz l'pleni b'chayvi. Give 200 zuz to this individual that I owe him money. So he says over here two opposite expressions. On one hand he says he's a b'chayv, I owe him money. On the other hand, he says, "No, give him a gift." So therefore, what happens? If he wants, he can take this money that the B'shchiv Merah said he can take it for his chayv, and that's it. Now he's paid up, and he doesn't get anything else. But if he wants, he can take this now as a gift, and then the Gemara adds, if he's going to take this that the B'shchiv Merah said to give him as a gift, won't he now be in a stronger position? Now he got this as a gift, and now he can go to the even mishubadim, even buyers that bought from this person, and the karkayas, there was a lien that was mishubat to him, and he can collect it for himself. But if he collects the chayv from this money that the Shchiv Merah said, and now he says, well, I still want to get the gift that he said to give to me, but there's no properties available anymore, you can't go to buyers and say, give me the gift. So it would be much better for him to take a gift, and then later he'll be able to go to the buyers and collect his loan that he's owed. So this is the analogy that Abai Keshisha is saying, and this goes back to the same svara that I explained before, that Rabbi Yosi was saying, Loi kach koicha yafe. What was Rabbi Yosi saying? Rabbi Yosi was saying that it's better not to write. When an almana sells property, she shouldn't write what she's selling it for, because if it turns out that later the Yisayimim are not going to want to pay her the ksubeh, or rather there won't be enough properties in their possession available for the ksubeh, so now she'll say the properties that I sold before were only from Zaynes, and now I'm collecting the ksubeh, and now she'll have the right to go and get the ksubeh even from buyers, even from mishubadim. So therefore, she shouldn't spell it out before, so she'll have the right to be able to collect this later. So this svara, the same svara we said before, that the Gemara is bringing now in the name of Abai Keshisha, this is also the svara that really Rabbi Yehuda agrees to as well. This is the svara of Rabbi Yosi. This is the svara that Rabbi Yosi says over here, right? But the question though is, the Gemara now said that even according to Rabbi Yosi, he agrees to Rabbi Yehuda that the almana will have to bring a raya if there's an argument regarding the mezainis. So the question is, didn't Rashi explain before, if the almana has to bring a raya, if she's not going to spell out what it is that she sold for what, she might end up being stuck. The Yisayim are going to come and argue, everything you sold was for the ksubah. And now you claim that you still deserve mezainis, the mezainis we gave you as well. And she's going to have to bring a raya. So by not writing, she's going to have a problem, isn't she? So how could the Gemara now bring this svara that Rabbi Yosi holds like Abai Keshisha, and you shouldn't write? True, you will gain this point that Abai Keshisha says here, that she'll be able to go to Mishabadim for Ksubah, but in a case where the Yisayim are going to argue with her, she's going to have the lower hand, she's going to have to bring a raya, so there still should be a problem here. So the Gemara doesn't spell this out, but Rashi explains that true, there should be a problem here, but what Rabbi Yosi says, what she should do is, let her have Eidim. When she sells the property, let her have Eidim, and she'll say clearly to the Eidim that, look, this is what I'm selling for Mezainis, and this is what I'm selling for the Ksubah, so therefore if the Yisayim will argue later and say, everything you sold was for the Ksubah, and the Mezainis we paid you already, she has Eidim to tell us what was for what. But she shouldn't write it, because if later, if the Yisayim are not going to argue with her, and she'll want to collect her Ksubah from Lekuchais, so she'll be able to say, everything that I sold, that should be for the Mezainis, and now I want to come and collect from my Ksubah, and I go even to the buyers, even to Lekuchais to collect. So basically, Rabbi Yosi is saying, let her do it in a way that she should be smart, that she'll have the upper hand in all ways. Like Rabbi Yosi is saying, Koicha Yafa, this is better for her, that on one hand, she'll have Eidim to protect herself against any argument of the Yisayimim, but on the other hand, she shouldn't spell out, she shouldn't write anything, so that if she wants to collect the Ksubah later from Mishubadim, she'll have the ability to do that as well.